All right, I think we can begin. The session is being recorded, so those who are going to join late can just review the bits that they might miss. So, good morning, everybody. My name is Kuchner van Deventer. I'm the head of the Research Commons at the library. And together with colleagues Pepler Head and Sari Wilbers, we will be heading this presentation today. Pepler and Sari will be answering any questions that might pop up to you. And yeah, so you're welcome to type questions in the chat. I'm going to disable the chat now, so I won't be able to see the chat, but there will be colleagues who will be reviewing them. Okay, so today's session is on Mendeley for reference management, and as mentioned, my name is Kuchner van Deventer, and my email address, as you can see there, is kvd@sun.ac.za. We are going to go through quite a lot of content today, yeah, if any questions arise or anything you want to go through, anything, you're welcome to contact me afterwards. Me and my other colleague, Letlau Saloma, are the two go-to persons for Mendeley or referencing questions that you might have. Just to start, I want to make sure that everybody can hear me properly and can see the screen that I'm sharing. It seems that should be
Yes,
the case.
I can confirm.
Okay, thank you, Pepler.
I see someone does have their hand up. Janet,
Yes.
you want to say something?
No, I was just trying to indicate that, yes, we can hear him.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So I'm not going to be on the PowerPoint for too long. I just want to go over a few basics. So it's going to be more practical demonstration of Mendeley. So Mendeley is essentially a reference management tool that allows you to collaborate with other colleagues and to create your own reference system. And sorry, I'm just muting there. And yeah, so you can organize and search your library. You should, and I would recommend you have to start using it from day one when you start with your research and import everything that you have. And from that, you will eventually be able to cite within Word. You will be able to create a bibliography. It even allows you to attach the relevant document to a specific reference, and then you will be able to annotate it as well. And it allows you to cite as you write your documents. The other benefit is, of course, that it is all synchronized online. And so you will always have a backup copy online saved on Mendeley servers. So we sent out an email yesterday requesting you to already go and create a Mendeley account and to download Mendeley Desktop just to get started. And to those of you who haven't done that yet, I'm going to show these instructions just for a minute, but I'll take you through the steps as well. So I'm going to stop sharing my PowerPoint quickly and just share my desktop. And let me just drag and drop it there. So the easiest way I find, especially with Google, is you just type in Mendeley, and the first option will be download Mendeley. I'm going to zoom in a little just to make sure you all can read my text. So if you go to the link here, you will end up here. So if you have not created an account yet, you can create your account here. I would strongly recommend that you use your university email if you have one, but it is not essential. And then once you've created your account, you can download Mendeley Desktop for Windows. Now, I'm also going to mention here that there is a new reference manager for Mendeley available. It is still in a beta mode, so I am going to cover some of its features to those of you who would want to might prefer using it. I've already downloaded it and it's on my computer. But the focus of this session is going to be on Mendeley Desktop that you can download here. You'll see there are options for Mendeley Desktop for Mac OS and Mendeley Desktop for Linux, depending on whichever operating system you are using. Okay, back to the PowerPoint. So, yeah, this is the image that you're going to get. It's going to either show this or it's going to take you to that link that I just showed. And here are the instructions again. I will make this PowerPoint available after the session if you just want to follow the steps. But it's also important to note that we do have a library guide. So that gives the relevant instructions to Mendeley. Now, to get to the library guide, you click here on the library guides of the library. And for those of you who are not aware of this, there is a library guide for every single department that we have at the university. So if you haven't had a look at it yet, I would strongly recommend that you familiarize yourself with it. There's guidance on which databases you should consult, referencing techniques, and other matters as well. So here you can just type in the search, you type in Mendeley, and you say search. And the first result that you will get is Mendeley at SU on Mendeley. And this is the library guide for Mendeley. And here you'll see there are step-by-step instructions on how to install and set it up, how to add citations, how to create in-text citations and bibliographies, how to organize your research, and how to share and collaborate, so for the group work, and the available workshops that we have at the moment. We have here a recorded session from a previous session that Pepler presented. And for those of you who have use Mac OS, it would be good to also have a look at this one because this is presented on a Mac operating system. Okay. So I've covered this. Let's go on. Now, once you've downloaded Mendeley, it's going to ask you to sign in with your email and password. I would recommend that you tick stay signed in so that it doesn't prompt you to do this every time. And is everybody still with me? Pepler, and sorry if you feel there's a lot of questions popping up, you're welcome to just interrupt me and let me know. I see a hand is raised as well by Mr. Mokhanu.
Yes, thank you, sir. I think going back to the library, I missed the step. How do we get that website? The one that you just shown us.
The library website.
Back there.
Okay,
Yes.
so the website is, if you type in your search bar, library.sun.ac.za. And that will take you. You don't have to put in www ahead of time. You can just start with typing library.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then to get to the library guide, you just click on library guides. Did you see where that was now? Maybe I went too fast. It's here on the right-hand side.
Yes. Sorry, where? Yeah.
Let's just show again. So on the homepage of the library,
yes,
you've got library guides there.
Yes.
And if
Yes,
you
I
click
see
on
it.
there and just at search, you type in
Okay.
Mendeley. And you click on search, and it will be the first result on the top.
No, thank you.
All right.
All right, I'm happy. Thank you.
All right, pleasure. Okay. I'm also going to if I see somebody's microphone is unmuted or so, I'm just going to mute it from my side if I see it. But yeah, again, if you want to, you can raise your hands. But I would recommend, if it's a question that you feel you can just ask in the question in the typing, you can do that as well. All right. So once you've installed Mendeley, you will be prompted to install Microsoft Word, the Citation plugin, and also the plugin for your browser, whether you're using Chrome or Firefox or Edge, depending on whichever one you use. So to do that, I'm going to open Mendeley now. And I'm going to drag it here to my screen that I'm sharing. I'm not sure. I hope you all can see the resolution that it is set on, because I don't think I can zoom in here, unfortunately. Mendeley doesn't have that feature. But if for whatever reason you aren't prompted, you can also install the citation, the web importer and the plugin through these options here. So the first steps would be to install the MS Word plugin. Now to do that, I first need to close my Word documents and likely also my PowerPoint, but let's see. Okay, so that went quite fast and it will say it has installed successfully. We'll get back to the plugin later when we will cover the basics of how to insert a citation and how to generate a reference list. The next one is the web importer. So if you click on that, it will take you to this website. Now, Mendeley will automatically direct you to either Firefox or Chrome or whichever browser you are using. And then you just click on Get Web Importer for Firefox. And then you just click here, Add to Firefox. It will ask you here, depending on the browser, you'll have to give it permission. You can just say Add. And then it will appear here on the right-hand side. And we'll get back to the importer as well in a few minutes. Okay, so once they're both installed, the next step will be to import a reference. So I want you guys to follow me on an article that I want to that I've suggested. So if you go into Google and you type in this heading, the research design maze, and just go and search for that result. I'm going to give you all a minute to do that. Okay, so as I'm doing here, I'm typing in the research design maze. And now you're going to get a whole lot of results. So we've got about 23.5 million results. And just out of interest's sake, for those of you who are not aware, if you put a phrase in quotation marks like that, and you do the same search, you'll see the results have reduced to 8,790. Because it now searched for that entire, that exact phrase as it appears verbatim. Now, you'll see there's a bunch of different results here. And this is the thing I think that a lot of people often struggle with, and this is why I'm starting with this before we actually go to the databases, is that people do, if you find your results like this and you want to know how to go and import this information, you can use any of these different sources to import to Mendeley. Academic Search Premier is often a good, ResearchGate can be used, but SSRN, this is the platform that I believe hosts this article. And then you'll see here is an educational institution that has also placed this article on their database. But for the purposes of this exercise, I'm going to go to ResearchGate. And here you're going to find all kinds of information on the article, obviously. And you'll see this option to download the citation. So you could do that. That is this first step that we could look at. And now you're going to see that there's going to be a couple of different options here. Now I'm going to go through them step by step. I'm going to use this first one, RIS, and I'm going to click on download. You can select citation and abstract, so it will include the abstract, and I would recommend that. That's a good way of adding the abstract to your Mendeley database. So if you click on download, now it's going to ask whether you want to open it with Notepad. And here it can get a bit technical. And as I said, you're welcome to contact me afterwards if this step isn't clear for you. As I mentioned, there's a bunch of ways of importing a citation into Mendeley. But if you click on Other, you'll see that Mendeley Desktop there appears immediately. And now you can say, you can also select do this automatically for files like this from now on. And then if I say OK, it should automatically import it, and there it appears in my reference list now. It gives the time that it has been added, and you'll see that all the information is added here as well. The next step would be to download it as a BibTeX file. And I see there's a hand raised. Ms. Khayer. You're welcome to unmute yourself if you would like to ask a question, Ms. Khayer. Khayer. Or Mr. Pahaj.
Sorry, morning.
Good morning.
It says, yes, it's for me, when I press that download, it says to me, I'm unable to access that because I did not download this from the Apple Store, the Mendeley from Apple Store. I'm using a MacBook.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Yes.
Pepler, could you maybe assist with that?
I'm happy to meet with everyone who's using Mac, but perhaps we should just go on with this session because there was someone else who mentioned that they're having a problem. I'm not sure how everyone's feeling because I don't want to hijack this and make it a Mac session.
Okay, yeah, and yes, maybe that's a good idea. That will maybe at some point we could maybe we could in the teams perhaps create a separate group maybe for the last 20 minutes of the session or so, where all the Mac users could maybe just have a brief discussion with Pepler with any issues that might arise. Okay, I'm seeing
to take a separate session for Mac if you want to create a separate group for Mac users.
Maybe by a show of hands, could we just get an indication of how many would be interested in that?
Sorry, Kuchna, mine is a question, so mine's still up, but I'm not, so just ignore mine if you don't mind.
No problem.
I'll ask the question once they're done dropping their hand again.
Okay, I see it's quite a large group.
Minus another one. It's also a question.
Okay. Okay, so to those who would like to join Mendeley or a Mac session, a concurrent Mac session, maybe I would recommend that I'd ask Marie, could you perhaps create a group, or shall we that they can join?
Kuchner, I've missed a bit about this. What is the reason for this?
A lot of the users are struggling because they're using Mac operating system.
We've never done this before, and if they have problems, they must come back to us afterwards. I think this is going to create now a bit of a difficult situation. Who's going to present then? In
I'm
the same
on my Mac
time?
at the moment. I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, but then we need other people for the backup in both. How is that going to work?
Yes, that's true. That's true.
I just think if we need to do it that way, we need to prepare it in advance. It's now a bit short notice. Sorry. Pepler, do you think it will work?
I'm happy to meet with everyone afterward. I think you're right. So let's meet
I
afterward
think it's
with
better
everyone who's
now.
having
Please, we
problems.
can't now. It's already a long time into the session
Yes,
now.
yes.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
All right. So to those who don't have specific questions now, could I just ask that you lower your hands again? Mr. Pahad, I'm going to ask you to
Thanks,
ask your
Kirsten. You can
question.
call me You can call me Siraj. Please don't call me by my surname.
Siraj. Okay.
Thanks. Just to understand. So when you go to, so I understand the Mendeley process is more the intricacies that I was more curious to know. Because we have to now move to APA 7. When you go to the Mendeley under file and you go look under the where is it now? When you go to file and you use the APA version 7, does it automatically change it?
Yes. The moment you select that style, it will automatically switch it. I will come back to this at the point where I
Later.
will show how you can create your styles and so, because I know APA 7 is a headache for a lot of people at the moment as well.
Yeah, it's not seeming to, well, when I say not working, it's not working in accordance with the lecturer's demand in terms of how we
Yes.
reference it. So I'm
Yeah.
just trying to understand it, and that's why I'm here. But thanks.
Okay.
Sorry.
No
If you
problem.
come into it, I'll keep quiet for now. Thanks a lot.
Okay. And any other questions? I'm going to give 5 minutes now for some questions, and but then I need to go on with the presentation.
There is one on the RIS download. So when I clicked on that, I downloaded Mendeley previously, but not quite sure how to use the tool. So now when I clicked download as per the steps you've indicated with citation, the file downloaded separately. The citation, the RIS file downloaded separately, but didn't integrate into the system. So I'm not sure if I'm missing anything here.
What would have happened there is it would have gone to your download file there, where you can then also say open file. And now, because mine is set to automatically open all RIS files to Mendeley, this will, I can't show that, demonstrate that now, but the other way around that I can show you is if you go, which browser are you using?
I think it's Explorer.
Yeah. Explorer. Yeah. Okay, so do you know where your download folder is, where all your things would have gone to lie?
Yes, it's in the download folder. I can see it.
Okay, so if that is what you have, the next one that we can use is if you go here and you say click on add, and you can say add file.
Okay.
And you go to downloads. But now's the next question. Where did mine download? Let me quickly adjust that. I just want to double check. Oh, yes, it's gone to.
So when I clicked that, it did import it. So I think my concern is just that, does it mean with each and every one that you download, you'd have to do it manually like that? Is there no way of setting it up?
There is. Basically, this is the long way around. I'm going to show you the quicker way in a few minutes.
Oh,
so basically, the thing is, there's so many various ways of doing this that that we can't really or it all depends on what works best for you. We're just showing the various options of how you can download, because the other thing is not every website is as well integrated with Mendeley that you can use the Mendeley web importer here at the top. So that's just why I'm going through the steps. And if anybody specifically wants to use this method going forward and they're still struggling, we can always just have an individual session afterwards. You can make a Teams meeting or we can make a Teams meeting to discuss it. But just to show now, if the RIS file downloaded but it did not import, you can click on Add here at the top, and you say Add Files. And then if, for instance, you saved it in your download files, you'll see this appears here, ris.txt. It will have saved it as a text document. And you just click on that, and it will import it again as well. Now, the other benefit, and this is even quicker, is if you have your download menu open like this. I am just going to delete this one because I want to remove it so that you can see. And I'm going to just adjust my filtering there. Is you can actually drag the file into Mendeley. And then you'll see it'll appear here. I've put it now to added, so it shows the most recent documents that have been added. And then the resource or the source will appear here as well. So those are the more technical ways of doing it. Another way around, and this is where the web importer is quite handy, is if you click on the Mendeley web importer, okay, and have signed in. Because I uninstalled it, I have to just quickly sign in again. And here you're going to see it's going to appear as this. And you can select it. And then you can also just say add it to my library, and it will add it to Mendeley. Now, because it's already here, it should, it won't have done that now, but that is how the web importer works. And once we get to some other documents, we will cover it as well. Now, the next thing to take note of is that Mendeley is highly dependent on the metadata that it receives from wherever you import your references from. So you're always going to have to double check everything that you imported. So for instance, with our style of referencing, it should be sentence case and not title case as it appears here. That means that only the should be capitalized. And this you have to go and manually change with every reference that you add if you intend on using it in your bibliography or your reference list. Ooh, not clauses, cases. And this you have to check right through. You have to check that the author is correct. You have to check that the journal title is correct. You have to ensure that it is a journal article and not a website or something else. So you have to make sure that you have selected the right type of resource. And then you can look at some other features as well to make sure that everything is there that should be. If something is missing, and what is especially important these days is to have a URL or a DOI available that can link directly to the article. Now, this will often be not necessarily available on all the websites, and that is something also to take note of. So this is extra information that you might have to go and find. And this is why sometimes going to ResearchGate or like that isn't the ideal place to access the source. So you can, if you need to find an accurate URL, you can go to another site like SSRN where this is appearing. And then you can look and you'll see here is a recommended citation. And there you'll see there is a PDF. Now it's not allowing me to come now. There we go. And then you can just copy it. And once you've copied it, you can go back to the reference and you can paste that to the URL. And that will appear now. Now, the next step as well is that you can attach a PDF to a document. Now, this one is freely available. It is open source, so you shouldn't have any problems on getting access to this article. Now, what you can do is you can download the paper, and I would recommend when you do this is to select save file. Now, depending on how your browser is set, this is a big one because it's not necessarily the same for everyone. Some people's folders are automatically set up to go and save anything in their documents folder. So depending on where it gets saved, it's just for ease of access. I have put it so I can manually select where I go and save this folder. So now I can go to documents, I can create a new folder, and I can say research and save it there. And I can just change the title. And now when you go back into Mendeley, there is an option to add the file. And you'll see here under files, if you click on add file, the little gray area there, and we go to my documents, we go to research, and it appears there. And now the PDF is attached of this article. And this is another very nice feature of Mendeley, is now that you can open the article and in your Mendeley section. And there's a couple of features here that you can do. So you can say notes, add a note and say useful for research proposal. You can put it, you can drag and drop it. You can put it where you want. Let's say there's a specific something that you want to highlight. You can select the color. And then you can highlight, for instance, a section of the article. And this will all stay highlighted in the document. I still see a couple of hands raised. Are there any questions at the moment that haven't been answered? If you don't have any questions, can I just ask to lower your hands?
I've just got a question on the previous step. About the capital letters, right?
Yes.
So do you actually go into Mendeley and how do you edit the capital letters? That is my first question. And my second question is, do you then have to do this step before you obviously then do the in citation referencing?
Yeah, that it doesn't really matter because whatever changes you make in Mendeley, once you've inserted the citations into a Word document, it will automatically update to the most recent changes that you have made.
Okay. And how do you edit the capital letters in Mendeley?
So basically, any the moment you click on article, so I can click on any article. You're going to get this little details field here on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
And then basically, let's find one where this is, for instance, now a case where it is still all in sentence case. These are all example references that I've used. So, and then you just click basically on the title section and you can just make the changes there. Yeah, this is the tedious bit of Mendeley, but this is the same with any reference manager. Some does have an advanced feature that allows you to set the references all to sentence case. But the problem then is what happens is then everything becomes sentence case. So all the place names like South Africa, or if you have a city or you refer to a person, everything becomes lowercase. So that is also then something that has to be sorted afterwards.
Okay, and you don't click save or anything, it saves
No,
automatically.
no.
Okay.
Yeah, it automatically basically switches, saves everything there.
Thank you.
Okay, pleasure. Okay, so going on. The next thing I wanted to show, just back to the article that I was showing here now. Let's just go back to edit. There we go. So just so you know, this is the quickest way to make to get to the articles that you sorted recently, most recently, is just to change the added symbol here at the top to make sure that you get to your most recent imports. So again, yeah, as I mentioned, all these annotations remain. Now, the one thing that we have noticed is that if you decide to export this PDF and you want to view it in Acrobat Pro, for instance, unfortunately, it does not export the annotations at this point. It might be something that Mendeley will fix in future, but it is something that is worth taking note of. Now, another nice nifty feature is these tags. This is a great way of organizing your library. So back to your library, you've got basically your all documents folder. So if we think about Outlook as an email, this is where all your emails are going to lie. But you can create subfolders, and to do that, you basically just say under all documents, you can say new folder, and it will appear here. And there is the new folder, and you can rename it, and you can say temporary. And if you want to add any reference to that, you can just drag and drop it to temporary, for instance, and then it will go. Oh, no, it didn't. Ah, there we go. Now it's gone there. And this will appear. You're going to see in a lot of the references that I have here, you're going to get this little yellow box that says these details need reviewing, and you can click on search, and then Mendeley is automatically going to search and check whether it is correct. Now, 9 times out of 10, this is going to work and it's going to be fine. But it has happened, I've actually experienced it, where for some other reason it picks up a completely different article and it overwrites the metadata of the actual article that you're using. So be very careful when you do use that, and always, unfortunately, always you have to double check your references according to the data that you will have from the database. So yes, now I'm going to jump back to EBSCOhost or to show you a couple of databases from where you can import to Mendeley.
And if before you go, if you can just take that question.
Okay, which question is that? Oh, what you said here. Oh, that. Mr. Kluter, Javon, do you have a question?
No, I don't.
All right, then I'm just going to lower your hand.
Sorry, Kirsten, if I can also just interject, I have put it in the chat. You can actually export your PDFs with annotations. If you right-click on the record, if you can just show everyone.
Oh, yes, yes.
Export with annotations. So any annotations you make to the PDF will also come along.
Okay.
If you export it in that way.
So let's have a look here. Okay, so then, yeah, you can export PDFs with annotations. There we go. There we go. Okay, so this was a previous issue that I encountered, and I might have missed this step. This is that's my bad. All right. So now we can go to a couple of databases. So back to the library homepage. Now our database is A to Z list. This is where you'll be able to access all our databases that the university is subscribed to. Now you can go, you'll see here, it's a long list of different ones. So the quickest way to find the relevant database is if you type in EBSCO host. And now you're going to see there's still a lot of results. And this is just because of the way EBSCOhost is a collection of various databases. But the EBSCOhost platform that you want to get to is this EBSCOhost research databases. And you sign in with your details. And here you can select, but I'm not going to go into detail there. I'm just going to select the one, use the ones that are automatically selected. And now I am going to search, just do a random search. Optimizing reference management. And yeah, for the sake of the exercise, I am not going to. I didn't find something that I would have that I thought might pop up, but I'm just going to use an article here. Now, let's see what happens. Now, if you click on the source that you would like to export, you're going to find a couple of options here. Now, this one doesn't have a full text available, but for Intersect, let's say you're in a hurry, but you want to keep this record so that you can go and try and find the record later, or you want to ask your faculty librarian whether they can get you the hard copy or the copy of this source. Then you can still export it, and you can click here, export. And now you're going to see there's a whole lot of options. There's the direct export that we referred to earlier. And you'll see here that a couple are mentioned, and although Mendeley is not mentioned here, Zotero is, and Zotero is basically based on Mendeley and should work just as well. And then you can just say save again. Now, again, it's going to say open, but in this case now I'm going to show the steps. I'm going to save the file in the download folder, in my documents. Let's save it to research. And now, again, just to show you can drag and drop it. And again, for me, it often happens that I lose the reference the moment I've imported it because I accidentally clicked now and I don't see that specific one now. So that is why I always go and check my most recent import. And again, you'll see here that this article has a lot of issues. It's all caps, and that's not correct. But the rest of the details looks very good. But as I mentioned earlier, and I'm going to keep on emphasizing this, always double check the details that are inserted here and make sure that they are according to the Stellenbosch University referencing style, the one that you are using, whether it's APA or Harvard or any other that your faculty or department might use. Now, going back to the tags. So let's say, for instance, this is going to be an important one for chapter 1. Then you can add that as a tag. And let's say just for Intersect, this one is also important for chapter 1. And you're going to see that the tags are all going to appear and drop down. So whatever tags you use, you can just select them from the drop down as well. Excuse me. Now, let's see what happens if you say chapter 1. You're going to see here appears, for instance, the first one that I mentioned with chapter 1 as a tag. And here's the other one that appears. But this isn't just this shows all the results that includes chapters, so that's not ideal. But that is, if I am correct, you can in your notes, unable to search notes. There will be different ways on how you can yeah, find the tags as is, but the search bar will be probably be the best one. I think the recommended as well as tag 1, for instance, might work even better, because now if you type in tag 1, it's still going to give other results, but you'll see it will appear there with the tags. All right. Now, even from EBSCOhost here, you will be able to export the document. And if you click again on the Mendeley web importer, you'll see the details are here is available, and you can just say add, and it will add that one. But because I've already added it, I'm going to select a different one to show you how that process will work. Here I'm going to look for research methodology. Let's see if we find something worthwhile. And perhaps something that would be ideal would be to have an article with a PDF so that you can see what the other benefit of the Mendeley web importer. So let's take this one. And this one, as you can see, does have a PDF attached. And now if you click here, while it's looking for it, you'll see it is checking for PDF. Now, that is unfortunate, and this is also something that you will have to take into account, that not all the databases will have this feature available. You'll see now that when I go to ScienceDirect, which is also an Elsevier product, the option to import the PDF along with your reference will be available. So it is important to note that with trial and error, you're going to pick up that sometimes the PDF is not automatically attached, and you have to take note of that. But I'm going to add it anyway. And now if I go to Mendeley and I sync, you'll find that the article appears here at the bottom. So as I explained earlier, you can download the article and you can physically or manually add it to any reference that you might have. And that's also a useful way to, that will be the alternative method of doing it. All right, so that's EBSCOhost in a nutshell. So let's try, as I mentioned, ScienceDirect. And again, back to your A to Z list on the library website. If you type in ScienceDirect, you'll find it here under S. I'm typing in random search terms as they pop up in my head, so I don't even know what results I'm going to get. So let's have a look at this one. So even before going into the article or the further details of the article, you can directly export it from here. But what is also very, very handy is, especially on ScienceDirect, which is very well integrated with Mendeley, is now if you click on the Mendeley web importer, you'll see that all the results that appear on the website are available. Now, even in this case, as you can see, a lot of the PDFs are not found. So the system isn't perfect, unfortunately, and this is hopefully over time, this will improve with Mendeley. But you can, as you can see, here's one with a PDF. So let's select a couple of sources where the PDF is included. So then you just tag it here, check mark it, and you can select as many or even all of the results that you find on this page. And then you can say add. And for the purposes of this exercise, I'm going to add it to the temporary one that I added or created earlier. So you can actually select the folder into which you want to import the references or the results. So in that way, you can organize your references by the specific topic or the specific keywords that you searched for. And then you can just click on add. And now, again, you're going to see that they do not appear here. And the reason for that is you're going to have to click on this sync button first. And there you'll see they've all appeared. And now the reason it's taking a bit slower now is because Mendeley is now first just downloading all the PDFs attached to these articles. And if you click on it, if you select it, you'll see it is here. But once again, very important to take note of is to make sure that your reference, all the fields are entered correctly. For instance, here you're going to see that this specific article doesn't have an issue or pagination attached to it. So usually on the cover page or elsewhere, you should be able to get the information for that. And oftentimes, the reason there's no pagination is because this article starts with page 1, and ends with page 6. And in that case, you can just say 1 to 6. And urban planning, it seems a lot of the journals, especially online journals, are moving away from having issues, and they only have volumes. So if there's no issue to be found, then you can just leave that space blank, and Mendeley will automatically sort it according to it. Now back to my library, just to show a few other features before we go on. So in your groups, the other benefits of Mendeley is that you can create groups where you can include colleagues who are working together on an article, for instance, and you will then have a shared database. So let's say research design, create group. And now you can invite colleagues to join. In this instance, I am going to just invite my colleague Marie, who is the organizer of this event. And she will now get an invitation to join the group. So whatever I share, whatever documents I decide to share, for instance, in this group, she will be able to access from her side as well, once she has synchronized and accessed it. So for collaboration purposes, this is a very, very useful and nice feature to have. Other little things that are very nice is you can add favorites. So you just star them basically there and there, for instance, and then you could say this is then they will all go there. Recently read are the ones that you have recently accessed. And needs review is quite a handy one as well, because these are the ones that Mendeley is still not 100% sure is correct. You still have to confirm that the details are correct. All right. Now, let's say, for instance, you have a book at home and you can't find the details anywhere. Then there is the option to create a manual entry. This is the most tedious bit, and I almost don't even recommend it. I'm not going to go into too much detail for it because even if you have a hard copy at home, you can find that that information online from a variety of sources. The library catalog or the World Catalog, which is a very handy source to get information on books. But just for interest's sake, now I'm just going to say I'm going to create a reference here. And what I should actually do is make it an edited book, but that is where it can get a bit tricky because the reference that you have or the style that you use doesn't necessarily have that available. But let's say 2007, Pretoria, and publisher is important. Now, this is also important to take note of. You're going to see there's a bunch of fields, and depending on the type of reference that you have, you do not have to add this all of it. So, for instance, this book, this copy that I'm referring to here of this book is the first edition. You don't have to put in first edition because what's going to happen is you're going when you create the bibliography, it's going to show first edition, and that is not necessary in a reference. It's only second edition and onwards that need to be indicated. But once saved, you'll see it appears here, and it's got the basic information available. So now let's go back to the library catalog. There are other databases, but for time, I'm not going to go to them now. If you have any questions, if you struggle with any of the databases, you are welcome to contact me and I'll show you them as well. The last one that I will show that is not book-based, but will be Google Scholar. So let's search for a book. Let's search for the same book that I just created. So here are different versions of the book, and there is a 2020 version of the same book available at the moment. So if you click on the record, you'll see that there is quite a lot of details here, but what's handy is you'll see there is a Mendeley link there. Now, sometimes this might glitch, as you can see here, export to Mendeley failed. Then that is why we do show you how to export an RIS, because if all else fails, if any of these features fails, you can still use the export to RIS to export the version. You can say download and you say open with Mendeley desktop. But, and this is also important, I want to show you this as well. Now you're going to see it does pick up First Steps in Research as a resource, but it also picks up the web page. So you can, and this is something you should be careful of, is to make sure that you don't accidentally export the web page, but export the source that you think. And here you're going to see, okay, so it picks it up as a book, but there's very little other information available. And that is why on our library website, it would be safer to use the export to RIS option. Pepler, do you perhaps have an idea why Mendeley might have an issue?
I'm not sure, but I actually prefer using the RIS and BibTeX anyway, because the Mendeley takes you to the online interface and you have to resync. So yeah, that's just a personal preference from my side.
Okay, but yeah, I think in a lot of the cases, if you do see a little Mendeley icon there, you can try to use it. But in this case, as mentioned, okay, so we're going to do the RIS, and mine is now set to open with Mendeley desktop. And there it should appear. And again, just make sure that everything is correct as it should be. A couple of things again to keep in mind. that we don't write out the edition like that. We just say 3rd edition. And you don't have to give Hatfield there, you can just give Pretoria. So that's, again, I can't emphasize this enough. You always have to clean the records and make sure they are according to the requirements of your referencing style. Now, the last one, as I mentioned, or second to last, I quickly want to just introduce you to WorldCat. WorldCat is a global, oh, this is not the right WorldCat. It's worldcat.org, excuse me. This is a global database of participating libraries, so you'll be able to find almost any record of anything here. So let's try another book. And I'm just going to use one that seems fine. And again, you can click on the record there. You can make sure which version or which format you have available, but you can export it here as well. Now you're going to see there's a couple of options, export to reference and EasyBib and so on. So here, Mendeley is not even being mentioned, but you can assume that the moment you see EndNote or so, it's going to be an RIS file. So let's see. Yes, it is an RIS file, but because it does not recognize it, I can again either save it and drag and drop it into Mendeley, or I can again select Mendeley here as the default software to export. And there the book's details will appear. And last but not least, Scholar. Now you're going to get a couple of results as well. And a quick way to export references from Google Scholar is this little cite button here at the bottom. You can click on that cite, and then you'll see again, BibTeX, EndNote, RefMan, RefWorks. So if you click on BibTeX, now this is another step, and this might be a bit trickier, but this is also when everything else fails. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to copy that and text, Notepad. Then you have to open Notepad, save that data, and now I'm just going to save it on the desktop. I'm going to save it as Mendeley. Excuse me. And the same step follows. So you say add files, go to desktop, and there it is, and you add it. And here you'll see it has also been added. And it has saved it as a conference proceedings, but the metadata seems on point, but you will have to perhaps add a URL, or if there is a DOI or digital object identifier available. But a safer way and would also again be the web importer, and you'll see this might be an option depending on all the data that is available. So, and here it saves, and it actually attaches the PDFs as well, but only those that it has picked up. So you'll see here the first result is not even the first result on the page. So this you also just have to double check. But if your Google Scholar is connected to the library, you should have this HTML ScienceDirect link that takes you directly here. And from here, you can export this resource a lot, and it will be a lot easier. So I'm saving it again under temporary. Also make sure, it seems that it automatically selects the last one that you used. So make sure, because otherwise what's going to happen is you're going to maybe search for it in your entire library, but it went and saved in your temporary folder. But that said, it will still appear in your entire library as well. So just be sure that you know where you are saving your reference. Here you can view your library. If you click there, it will take you to the website of Mendeley. So this is where your online databases is. But you can also go back here. And here you'll find the information as it appears. So now the next thing to look at is the citation style. Now there are various styles available, and Stellenbosch has one available as well, but it is a bit glitchy at the moment, and we are going to, a plan for this year is to completely fix the style and make it workable. But, so once you are here, you can click on Get More Styles, and if you type in Stellenbosch, you'll see Stellenbosch University Harvard appears, and you can say install. And then it should appear here in your list of installed citations. And then you can select it as to use this style. Now, if your installed styles does not include the American Psychological Association, you'll see a 7th edition, but this one is by Brenton M. Vernick, and we don't quite know who this person is. So it might be that that is one that was created by somebody who jumped the gun almost, and that refers back to the earlier question on which APA is correct. So let's type in American. Now you're going to see American Psychological Association 7th edition, and you're going to see here at the bottom 7th edition annotated bibliography, 7th edition with a curriculum vitae. So there's a whole bunch of different ones. And this is tricky because this is where you're going to have to discuss with your supervisor which one they would prefer that you use here. But this seems to be the default one, the one that I've already installed on Mendeley. And now we can navigate to Word. So once you've installed the Mendeley citation, you can access it here if you click on References. So here, Mendeley Citomatic is the option to insert a citation and to insert a bibliography. The one thing with Mendeley Desktop is there's no way, or here you're going to open the bibliography there, or if you click on that, it will take you back to your library. But to insert a citation, you will click here on Insert Citation, and then you have to type in the author. So let's use Maria. And now I've inserted him. And now you'll see it's set according to Stellenbosch University Harvard. But let's make it American Psychological Association. And click on Refresh, and you'll see it is the same. If you want to insert multiple authors, you'll see you can add them like that in a list, and it will automatically generate it as per that style. So let's jump back to Harvard, and you'll see that is the difference that appears.
Kirchner, if I can interrupt, I see there's a hand up.
Yes, Ms. Cottle?
Sorry to interrupt you. So I'm struggling with this part, right? So APA 7 denotes if it's 3 or more authors, then you use and others, the et al thingy, right? But now, say for example, I have a sentence that reads, marginalized youth in South Africa has been recognized by many authors. So now I'm referring to 5 different authors who did 5 different articles related to marginalized youth. So how do I then reference it in the in-text and the bibliography? I'm a bit confused with that part.
Okay, so in that instance, this is an example of how that will look. So when you use et al, that refers to a specific article where there are more than 3 authors. But if you say there per these 5 researchers, you have to items, then you're going to include all 5 of them as they appear here.
Okay,
Yes,
I'm with
as
you
you can
now.
see, this last one here isn't Kubi at all. So it's
Okay.
already been shortened.
Okay, I'm with you. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. And the next step, now to insert a
Sorry,
page.
Kirchner, there's another
Yes.
hand. Apologies.
Yes.
Hey, can you just, now I see you're gonna go, I just needed to see that step, how you, so when you're doing the in citation, you just click on, how did you get to that search for your author title on your page? I missed that, sorry.
Oh, no problem. Basically here, if you click on insert citation, that will appear.
Okay, and then you can add, so if you don't necessarily know who the authors are, you have to then go click on the go to Mendeley to find what you're looking for.
Yes,
Okay.
and that is one of the features that I think the new Mendeley Reference Manager will hopefully have improved. Because this is, this I think is the feature of Mendeley Desktop that is most annoying for me personally, is that you basically have to know your reference.
What you're looking for.
Yeah.
So if you don't, then you have to go back, like what you say, where you created a template folder. You'll then have to click on that go to Mendeley.
Yes.
And then,
you'll have to go. So for instance, let's say Azeredo.
Now I'm with you.
So I'm going to use just this one as the next example for pagination. So there are 2 ways to do this, but because how you indicate your page numbers and how, is very much dependent on how your style requires. For instance, I think, if I'm correct, APA should be page 18, let's say something like that. And then if I click away, you're going to get this little message that says has been manually edited, this citation. And you can say keep the manual edit, and then it will keep it throughout. No matter how many times you synchronize, it will keep it to that. But very important to take note of is that the moment you make alterations in your reference list, in your bibliography, those changes do not get saved. So they unfortunately have to be changed within Mendeley themselves. Now, the other way to do this is to right-click on a reference like this. And now you'll see here at the top under references, it's no longer new citation, it's edit citation. And then if you click on it and you select a specific reference, you'll see here that it gives that one. And now you can give page numbers as necessary. Ooh, that's not going to work. And once you've done that, you'll see the pages are set as they should appear here. Now, what you'll also see is that here the order of the references in your field as you entered them are not the same as they appear here at the top. That is also a setting as depending on what the style preference is. Most styles prefer an alphabetic order, but it can be more than that. Or sometimes your supervisor might want it to be chronological and not alphabetic. And this will require a manual change of the order of how they appear. Now, the next step would be, now you want to say, let's say we want to say according to Maria, for instance. Now let's put in Maria again. And now you see it appears like this. And the reason for that is it automatically adds the initials of the author, because Mendeley recognizes this Corvus Maria and that Carl Maria as two different authors. And to fix that, you have to go to your filter by authors, and then you have to scroll down to, in this instance, Maria. And here you're going to see that is why. So now what we can do to fix that is you have to make sure that the authors in your reference list appear exactly the same. So let's take that away and update it. And now you'll see that that Maria has become 1, 1. And now if we update it here, I really hope this works. Yes. Then you'll see it has disappeared again. Now it is again just the surname. But again, you don't want the reference to look like that. So you go to Edit Citation, you click on that reference and you say Suppress Author. And now the thing that might again be a little bit tedious is you say Maria here. And then you have to keep the manual edit of the changes that were made. And now I still see that it has done that. So this is some of the more finicky aspects of Mendeley. And I'm not going to spend time on fixing it now, but if you do encounter these initials as they appear, keep in mind what I mentioned about trying to use a uniform. If you decide to write out all authors' names, make sure that all your references, authors' names are written out. If you're only going to use their initials, make sure that you only use the initials. But importantly, make sure that if you leave a space between each initial, that is kept as well. And now to the next step. Once you've done a couple of citations, then you can generate a bibliography. And we can do this on a next page. I'm going to insert a page break. And you can say insert bibliography. And here you see it appears. Now, again, depending on what is required, you can see here there's a bunch of things that don't seem necessary, but per the specific requirements of APA 7, it wants you to add book, for instance, there, or here it indicates the book as well. And that seems excessive. But unfortunately, this is things that you will have to manually change. You can, in some instances, change them, but let's, for instance, for now, let's just switch to Stellenbosch University, Harvard, and you'll see it'll automatically update everything. And now you will see, for instance, here's a couple of details. Designing and conducting mixed methods research, but you'll see that I made a typo there. There's no N there. And that you have to go and fix. And this is why, again, you cannot just depend on Mendeley to make your references look correctly. You will have to go and double check each of your references to make sure that they are accurate per the requirements of this specific style. All right, now there's only about 10 minutes left of the session. I see I have 2 hands up. Let's see, Carol Lee. Oh, I'm having trouble hearing you, Caroli, sorry. I see your microphone is showing that it's on, but there's no sound coming through to my side. Is anybody else perhaps hearing her?
No, not at all.
All right, and Sajay?
Siraj.
Siraj,
Hi,
sorry.
Krishna. That's fine. Can I just ask a question, and that's out of curiosity? If you're using APA or version 7 or whatever it is, and it doesn't pull through all the correct information, if you switched over onto the Harvard, the SU Harvard, is that very different to APA?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you can't even switch over. You have to actually physically stay in the APA because they want us to use APA version 7 for all our citations. Okay. So when it says that introduction to where you said book over there, I was more worried about, do you just delete that out and keep? Or...
Yeah, but this is the big thing, and this is the annoying thing for me about also is now I've made that change, but you'll see now the moment that I click on refresh, it comes back.
It comes back, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and editing the style itself to create a personalized style can be quite a tricky story. And we can, for those who would be interested, I can schedule individual sessions with you and show you just the basics because myself, I'm also still learning how to edit a style itself. Because you'll never be able to overwrite the greater style, but you will be able to create your own personalized one where you can avoid an instance of that where the book appears, for instance, or that book indication appears. The other option, and this is the more tedious one, is that once you have finished creating your reference list and you are basically at number 99 before you are going to submit, then you can click here on Export As, and you select without Mendeley fields. I just want to save this document. I'm just going to save it like that. And now you'll see, no, but why are the fields so, no man. Yeah, so here it has now created a one where all the fields have been removed. And now you can manually fix your reference list. But as mentioned, this is a tedious step. But it is something that you will have to allow yourself some time for before you have to submit. I think we frequently get requests from clients to assist us in fixing their databases, and then they have to submit their documents or to fix their reference lists, and then they have to submit whatever it is they need to submit the following day. And that is simply not enough time. So you need to at least allow yourself, I would say, a few days where you can exclusively work on your reference list. Me and Letlau are there to assist you as well. We cannot go through your entire document, unfortunately, just because of the scope, but we will help you as far as we can. So keep that in mind. All right, now there's 5 minutes left. I quickly want to just show you what the new Mendeley Reference Manager looks like. Essentially, it looks a lot like the same, like the normal one. What's nice about it, some features that I've picked up, is it automatically synchronizes. So you don't have to click on the sync button every time. And that is quite a nice little feature. The add new, you'll see there's some same options available here. When you click on a reference, you'll see here the information appears, annotations appears. And what's also very nice, let's see, I saw that earlier, and now I'm just looking for an example. Now it's not appearing, but there was this one feature that I actually, there we go. In some cases, Mendeley will actually pick up that it has access to the PDF, and then you just click on that. Try and click again. There we go. And it's uploading the file. And that will then automatically load the file to your item. And here you've got the same annotation options. You can highlight with a rectangle. It's just a bit simplified. Now, as I mentioned, this is still in beta phase. You can play around with it. I am willing to provide support in case anybody experiences issues and they do want to use this new style or this new system.
If I can interrupt there. So for all the Mac users, that's an option for you. I had the same problem where I got the I cannot use this because it was not downloaded from Apple error. And when you navigate to the Mendeley Reference Manager and use that instead, it works very well. So I would actually recommend you go that route and then get the Mendeley site as Kirsten is showing now.
So Mendeley site is another feature, and that is the one that allows you to actually browse your Mendeley library while you are using your document. But as you can see, it at this point has 1.5 out of 5 rating out of 510 ratings. So it's very glitchy. It is not optimized to work with Mendeley desktop. So unfortunately, you'll either have to use Mendeley site and Mendeley Reference Manager or Mendeley desktop. Those are the two choices that you will have. The benefit of Mendeley site is that you can use it if you're using Word Online, whereas Mendeley desktop does not have that functionality available at all. Okay, so that covers basically everything that I wanted to point to. As I said, it's a lot of information, and I only touched on some of the aspects. So, yeah, as I said, if you experience any questions, I also want to mention that every Monday, me and Letlau host a Mendeley Monday session at 1 p.m. And anybody is welcome to join. You can be an experienced user, you can be a beginner user, and we cover some of the basics at the start, depending on we gauge what the greater needs are of the users who have joined. And then we can assist with some general troubleshooting as well. Sometimes the questions that arise are things that other people didn't even realize it's an issue that they have dealt with, and then they also get the answers. So we can definitely recommend that. You can register for the sessions also on the library training calendar. And then again, as I said, we are more than willing to have individual meetings with you if you would like some more advanced support on a specific issue. You can contact me or Letlau. Let me just give my email address and his as well. And Letlau Saloma. And yes, I hope there would be time for one final exercise, but I'm going to leave that out now. But for those who need to leave, you can now, or if you have any questions, you can ask them again. One last thing I just quickly want to do, and I want to just show you these tips that Pepler, I think, originally created. Again, important, garbage in, garbage out. Always check your citations. You have to check your bibliography, as I mentioned. You have to know and understand the referencing style that you're using. And this is why we don't provide Mendeley support to undergraduate students, because that is when you are expected to learn how to use it. Make sure what you are referencing, different material types, yes, that you always have to check. And make sure that your in-text citations match your bibliography, and then consistency. That is sometimes more important than anything. Sometimes a style doesn't give you clear direction on how to cite a specific article or something. Then just be consistent. Don't cite it one way at that point and then in another way at another point. Okay, and that is where I will stop now. If anybody has any questions, I'm willing to still stay on for a bit, but if you wish to leave, you are welcome to leave now as well.